Hi guys, welcome back. So today we've got this 8P RS3 in for a bunch of upgrades. The main headline thing is we're doing a hybrid turbo for around 500 horsepower. And before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, also notification bell, and then you won't miss when any of our new videos go live. So installing a hybrid turbo for around 500 horsepower, maybe a little bit more than that. The car's already got a aftermarket downpipe on it and an aftermarket intercooler and intake. So we'll be checking over those whilst we're doing the install, doing the software, stuff like that to make sure they can support the power. So hardware additions, going to be doing Autotech high pressure fuel pump. Obviously it's going to be making substantially more power and torque than standard, especially in the mid-range. So we're definitely going to need the additional fuel flow. I'm going to be doing a Miltech catback exhaust system on this, so freeing up the rest of the exhaust system. The GFB diverter valve to replace the standard one. Also be doing at the same time Wavetrac ATB LSD upgrade, so replacing the factory open differential, upgrading it with the Wavetrac for more traction and grip. Also much better sort of like front end feel as well. At the same time as doing that, I'm going to be replacing the clutch with a new stock item. Also installing Bilstein B14s, H&R anti-roll bars, Verkline dog bone mount, and some rear anti-roll bar links, just to improve the handling to go with the power. And then also a P3 boost gauge, so the customer can monitor and watch the boost pressure from inside the car. So next step we're going to start doing some standard logs of the car, benchmark the standard power on the dyno, and then afterwards bring it in the workshop, walk you through some of the parts. We'll walk you through the whole process, show you what the power output is at the moment, compare it to the upgraded power output at the end, and also before and after exhaust note as well, so you can hear what the difference is between the downpipe and the full exhaust system. So I hope you enjoy Okay, so we've got the RS3 on the ramps. We've done the initial dyno test, so got some initial power figures. Through the initial health check, we actually discovered that there's a lot of cylinder leakage on one of the cylinders, and also there is oil being ingested through the intake. So obviously we're doing a lot of upgrades to this car. We need to investigate those faults and see what the issues are. It might be to do with one of the pistons has failed, piston rings, something like that. We don't really know until we're able to obviously take a look inside the engine. So we're going to be removing the engine, taking a look and going from there. So we'll show you what we find in a bit. obviously removed the engine from the RS3 to further the investigation into the oil consumption and the oil coming through the air intake. What our investigation showed initially with the visual inspection was that the cylinders had some material transfer and also some wear on the bores, and that we suspect is going to be the main cause of the oil consumption and the oil coming through the air intake, because there's not really any other problems with this vehicle at this time. So what we then did is we measured the bores. The bores were out of spec from what the factory say is the spec. So to overcome that, we have to oversize the bores. And if we oversize the bores, we've got an opportunity to upgrade the pistons, and then obviously at the same time, we can go for an upgraded rod as well. So what we've done is we've gone for the Mahle Motorsport forged pistons and the Bartec forged connecting rods. So a much more durable, stronger piston and connecting rod assembly versus the standard cast rod and OEM piston. So this is going to be much better suited to increasing the boost pressure, running high ignition, all that kind of stuff, versus the OEM components, especially if the OEM components have issues with oil consumption, wear, stuff like that. So all of this has been measured, and then selected the pistons to go for the oversized bores. We've oversized the bores now, and then what we then done is we've spec'd the piston ring sizes specifically for this application. So everything inside the engine is, or everything on the bottom of the engine is going to be optimized for use in this particular application. And then what we've done with the head is obviously it's been thoroughly cleaned, and then we've checked all the tolerances, cut all the valves, reinstalled the factory items. This particular customer didn't want to upgrade to high performance items or oversized items. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the connecting rods, and that's going to involve measuring up the clearances of the connecting rod and the connecting rods rather, and the crank, and then also the torquing of the rod bolts as well. So we'll walk you through that a little bit later on in the video. And then once we've got the engine in as well, we're going to walk you through the rest of the performance parts we've got, like the Bilstein suspension, exhaust system, oil cooler, bigger turbo, all that kind of stuff. So see you a little bit later on. Okay, so you're joining me after we've just completed the engine build on this 8P RS3 with the forged internals to solve the oil consumption issues and the oil going through the intake on this car. It's got majority of the ancillaries already fitted, ready for the engine to be put back in the vehicle. And then we've got all the upgraded parts out here in front of us that we're going to be installing this car, and we're going to walk you through them right now. So the headline thing about this car, other than the engine build and all the other cool parts put on it, we put in a 500 horsepower plus capable hybrid turbo. So this is going to be fitted as the engine, and then we'll get it in. But this particular turbo, obviously 500 horsepower plus, to cool that kind of like the boost pressure, the heat that we're going to be generating. This customer had a unknown aftermarket intercooler already fitted. It's not a particularly large one. It's one of the sort of like OEM fitment ones. So we wanted to upgrade that so we won't be limited by the intercooler in terms of power potential. So going to be installing the Forged Motorsport intercooler, so substantially larger intercooler than the factory intercooler, and also the aftermarket one that was already installed on this car. So that'll give us some nice cooling headroom, and of course got the Forged Motorsport boost hoses as well to replace the OEM ones. As well as that, we're going to be installing a water meth system just to give us a little bit more headroom should we need to use it. Moving on to the exhaust system, we've got this customer's already got a aftermarket downpipe already fitted to the car. So then we're just going to be making sure the rest of the system's high flow, not blocked, anything like that. So installing a resonated sensor section with Miltech rear silencer with their titanium tips as well. The customer wanted to monitor some of the temperatures, some of the other OBD2 monitorable parameters on this vehicle. So we've got a P3 gauge as well that we're going to be fitting into the factory vents. So the customer will be able to monitor everything from inside the car. Some of the other bits we've got here, so we've got the PCV delete kit. So obviously the PCV vents a lot of gases back through the intake system, and those gases sort of cool going through the intake tract and then solidify on the intake ports to basically reduce the flow. So you see a lot of issues on RS4s, RS5s, S4s, so like Lamborghinis, Audis, all with the direct injection only engines. So this will help to prevent that. Moving on to some of the parts we've got out here in front of us. So of course we're installing a Wavetrac differential in this car. So obviously this car being a Haldex based Quattro system, it's predominantly front wheel drive until it sends power to the back. So the power always goes forwards first and then to the back of the car. And even when it goes to the back of the car, it goes to an open differential and then is limited by the amount of torque it can send to the back. So the Wavetrac diff will make best use of the grip that is available from both wheels, rather than if one wheel starts to spin on the open diff, all the power will be sent to that wheel, whereas with the Wavetrac it can bias evenly across the axle to give you maximum forward momentum. If you're using the car on track as well, and also most notably when you're going around corners on the street or accelerating out of corners, you'll feel the front end will bite down a lot more into the corner and sort of pull you through. At the same time as doing that, we will be installing a racing line DSG billet oil filter housing, so we'll show you that in a little bit. Upgrading the gear oil to Motul DCTF, so a higher quality like blend oil as opposed to the factory oil, which I think is mineral. Got the Vagbrand Technic brake discs, and then we've got Tarux brake pad Strada, so a road compound, fast road compound for the front and rear. Moving on to the suspension, got quite a few upgrades. So Bilstein B14s replacing the factory system on this car. So the B14 is a ride height adjustable coilover kit. This particular customer didn't opt for sort of like the damping adjustment, but he didn't really want it, wasn't really interested in changing it, so didn't go for it. At the same time, on the front, we're installing the 034 Motorsport upgraded top mounts. So these are slightly harder, more sort of like fast road use, performance orientated top mount. Right over there, we've got the Verkline rear adjustable sway bar links. So make sure we get the end link length adjusted correctly. We've also got the racing lines for the front as well. And then going on to the anti-roll bars, we've got the H&R anti-roll bars. So thicker anti-roll bars front and rear, and with adjustability as well, so you can really finely tune the balance of the car. And then we've finally got the Verkline billet dogbone mount. So this particular mount is a really important thing to install in these cars on standard, tuned, anyone who's sort of like upgrading their car, driving their car hard, because a lot of energy can be lost in the factory mount. There's a lot of movement in it. So if you replace it with one of the Verkline billet spherical ones, all the movement is eliminated and all the torque is transferred as opposed to being lost in the movement. So I think that pretty much wraps up what we've got. We might have some more parts which we've missed, which we'll make sure we add into the video. But I hope you enjoyed all that, and we'll get all these parts fitted, get the car on the dyno, start tuning it, and we'll see at the end of the video where we compare the before and after dyno figures. Okay, so we're on the dyno after finishing this 8P RS3 project. You've probably seen a few seasons, a few hairstyles, stuff like that. So yeah, everything's looking a little bit different, but we're just going to walk you through the dyno graphs. As you can see, there's a massive difference in power and torque all the way across the rev range. Standard, the car came in making around 394 horsepower and 428 foot-pounds of torque. And now it's leaving us with new peak figures of 499 horsepower and 485 foot-pounds of torque. So it's a considerable difference in terms of peak power, and then obviously the max gains through the rev range as well. So maximum gains, you're looking at around 105 horsepower at 6,250. And then you're looking at 92 foot-pounds at 6,000 RPM. And then this particular setup's now making standard horsepower, which is around 394 at 4,350 RPM. So that's 1,500 RPM sooner than standard, despite having a bigger turbo. And it's also making peak torque down at 2,750 RPM, which is around 900 RPM sooner as well. So as well as obviously a massive gain in peak power, maximum gains in the rev range, also you get to enjoy the standard peak power and peak foot-pounds all the way down at a much lower RPM as well. So enjoyable from the bottom of the rev range all the way to the top. So going to hand the keys over to the customer and hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to watch other videos of ours that YouTube thinks you'll like, then click up here. If you'd like to watch some other videos that we have in the same playlist, then click here. And obviously if you enjoyed the video, then we really appreciate if you gave us a subscription. And then obviously you'll be updated when other videos of ours go live, and you can do that quite easily by clicking here. Hope to see you soon.